Hi, everyone, and welcome to another interview in our series for the Law Marketing Zone group. I'm very excited to welcome Jaclyn Foster today with the Jaclyn Foster Paralegal group here today. Thank you.
You're so welcome. Thank you so much, Marilyn, for having me.
Absolutely. Can you tell us a bit about what you do and how you help law firms?
Sure, absolutely. So by trade, I'm a paralegal. In 2020, during the thick of the pandemic, I decided to go off and start my own agency. I, former to that, went into the contracted space as a paralegal. So I was working from home in the middle of nowhere for firms all over the nation. And through all that, I really learned a lot of valuable lessons in taking paralegals and connecting them with law firms in so-called non-traditional sense that really can advance firms in what they're seeking to do. So I think it's great we're speaking today because you're all about marketing, growing that law firm, getting visibility out there. What we really do is focus on the fact that law firm growth can be really painful without the right staffing structure. So what we've done is created an affordable and flexible way to have that capable team backing that firm so they can keep focusing on what increases the profitability of the firm. So our motto is that we are the sustainable law firm growth solution. And we know that one size doesn't fit all with any of that. So really what we focus on is how are we going to sustain the growth in which these law firms are trying to attract. And that all comes down to the people that are supporting the firm. A lawyer cannot do it all by themselves. They can if they want to work 150-hour weeks, but they don't want to do it all by themselves. And it's not a great marketing approach to drive in all this traffic, drive in all these clients, and then have nobody there to support you to sustain. But we really recognize that it's that big leap of faith for a law firm to go from maybe one part-time secretary to saying, I need to bring on a full-time paralegal or two full-time employees or legal staff alike. And so we really fill that gap in allowing the firm to gradually increase their support team while they're driving in that traffic, while they're driving in the new clients and the new retainers and growing that firm to where they want to, where their profitability needs to be. So we're really the backbone that supports those phases and then also are there to handle those ebb and flows because we all know they have happen. There's seasons in estate planning, seasons in divorce, seasons in criminal. Summer's a little bit higher for DUIs, things like that, where we know things ebb and flow. So we're there to be flexible that you won't find in a W-2. In a W-2, if you give them any less than what you hired them for, they're going to go search for jobs outside of your firm. So really that's the bread and butter of what we stand for and what we are there to do is give these firms very professional senior level support nationwide for solo and small law firms to help them navigate to maintain the ultimate profitability of their practice.
Wow, that sounds interesting. So you basically just fill in the gaps to help them grow so they don't have to worry about not being able to handle everything.
Absolutely. We fill in those gaps where you can, you say, well, my methodology in growth is don't wait until you're so drowning where you're telling your marketing agency, shut off all my ads, shut off all my campaigns because I can't sustain this. We want to get ahead of that and say, you need 5 hours of support to handle this. And now it's going up 6 months later. Now you need 15. We can go up. Oh, things slowed down a little bit. Let's go back down to 5. So we really maintain flexibility. Further, my unique proposition with my agency that I think a lot of agencies and temp agencies and things don't really think about is finding the highly qualified paralegals that can really take a load off of the lawyer. We're not just looking for template drafting. We're not just looking for basic calendar management, things like that. They really need to be able to do that senior level paralegal work that actually takes the load off of the lawyer so they can feel confident in continuing to attract in bigger clientele.
Great. So, and you have a complete team that you can pick one that works well with the attorney. There's some synergy there. They are
Absolutely.
a team.
Right. So though we're called a group, we don't work as a team on the law firm. I'm very much of the belief they need to work directly with one paralegal. So when my clients call me or potential clients call me before they sign me, we really go through what they're missing in their law firm, what type of work they're backlogged on. Is it discovery? Is it pleadings drafting? Is it everything from conception to completion on a case? And we navigate on how many hours they're going to need, what type of support they're going to need, making sure it's always financially sound. And then we'll match them up with a paralegal that fits that bill really, really well.
Wow. Okay. That sounds like a really good support structure. And so you're during the pandemic is when this really took off for you.
Yes, surprisingly. And it wasn't intentional. I think, I think that the pandemic definitely helped me. Like I said, I was contracting myself through an agency. I was doing the paralegal work. So I was the subcontractor working with the lawyers. And I had always wanted to start my own business. And it just by happenstance came up during the pandemic where I'm like, this is what I'm going to do. I really believe in my mission. I really believe in what value I can bring to law firms with my unique experience in office management, training paralegals, developing paralegals. And so and law firm management in general. So it was right about in March of 2020 that I said, you know what, I'm just going to do this. And I think the pandemic helped me in the sense that, yes, subcontracting, contracting, remote work was a thing pre-pandemic. But once the pandemic came in, it no longer was this wildly outside of the box approach to staffing. It was the norm. Everybody's working remote. People are getting furloughed. People are leaving for remote positions. And now coming back out of the pandemic, or people self-classifying us going back to the office, things like that, we're finding, I work very closely with recruiters out in Colorado, out in New York, and we talk a lot about what's happening in the market. And a lot of paralegals are starting to learn their ability to advance their career beyond working that 8 to 5 traditional paralegal. There's the legal limited license practitioners starting to kind of go across the nation. Various states are allowing them to do these things, being able to do legal drafting for the general public in various states. But primarily, paralegals, especially senior paralegals that are very self-motivated, very independent, don't need to be micromanaged. They enjoyed the ability to work from home and be immediately productive versus, I have half of a day in by the time I get to the office. And so they're starting to demand that remote work, which is making the market really, really tight in finding paralegals that are willing to come work in your 8 to 5 traditional sense, no benefits, things like that. They're looking for that more flexibility and ability to scale their career beyond kind of what the paralegal will top out at salary wise. So it's that pandemic has kind of created something that was already brewing. It's here. Paralegals want to work independently as contractors, just like lawyers go out and start their own law firms. Paralegals are sort of doing the same in that paralegal sense. And now we can match them up. And it's beautiful because you have paralegals that are matching up with attorneys that they're just a match made in heaven, but they might be across the nation. That's where your talent pool is you get this 50 statewide stretch on finding that right person versus looking at this tiny little geographical market.
Right, right. And when it fits the bill, when you get the right person, are they feel like they're more fulfilled in that they're able to do what they enjoy doing in the comfort of their home, and they're still producing and helping this law firm grow? So it's a member of a team just getting it done and getting more done because I don't have to commute.
Yes. And I think that is a big one. And I think the other thing is they're learning that they can take a little bit more power over their career. They can, we're seeing them, a lot of paralegals merging into consultancy on law firm management and case management because they're the experts. Really, if you have a great paralegal, they know the heart of every case. They know what keeps a case moving forward because there's always these bottlenecks in cases where that case no longer is profitable for a firm because we're getting too crazy in discovery, too many deadlines. So they're learning that they can be consultants in a way as well and really advance their careers to something that law firms desperately need their expertise in. And absolutely. At the end of the day, it's very nice. Parents, myself included, we had to reschedule this interview because my son was homesick and I get to just keep him home and keep working, less sick days, less, I have to go run to a doctor appointment days. You don't need to do PTO. You can take your laptop on vacation. So it creates this win-win for both paralegals and lawyers. Of course, are there downsides to anything? Yes, you're losing that control of 8 to 5. I need you in the office. Paralegals are losing the ability to go on vacation and still make money. They only make, as contractors, we don't get those benefits by law. But I think the benefits wildly outweigh those little downsides, especially when you can find the right contractors, which is what I specialize in, because it's not as easy to just throw a post on Indeed or go Google search somebody and think you're going to find the right contractor. I work with hundreds of paralegals on a given month. I run a paralegal entrepreneur circle course where I'm teaching paralegals to be good contractors and what that really means, getting out of that employee mindset, showing up for your client in a different way, and customer service forward. So they are really, I mean, there's so many benefits to hiring that right contractor for a law firm.
Excellent. So that sounds like if I'm a law firm and I just need a paralegal, I can call you, get someone that can help me as I need it and help my firm as it grows. And then if we get
Absolutely.
stale at some point, then we can back off, but I still don't lose my team member.
Absolutely. That's exactly what it is. I mean, there are little, and this is something I consult with my clients on making sure we find the contractor that's going to stick through those ebb and flows. And that's how I specialize as the agency. Is I've really refined that process, really refined the person that's willing to ebb and flow with the firm. And you're only paying for what you're needing, which is wonderful, because I think, I have this cost analysis spreadsheet, and there's so many times my clients, they look at the rate of a contractor, and the hourly rate, yes, is a lot higher than what you're going to pay a W-2. But when we plug it into my little cost analysis spreadsheet and we say, okay, you want to offer $45,000 a year salary for paralegal, here's all your payroll taxes, here's all your employee benefits. And when they say, well, I'm not offering healthcare, then I say, okay, then we need to increase your turnover rate by 158%, which is the national average for not offering benefits. Your turnover rate is going to increase 158%. Which means you're going to have turnover rate costs. Your unemployment insurance is going to go up. Your recruiting efforts are going to go up. Your loss of productive time is going to go up. Your training, having to train that person in. So really, when we take that W-2 salary and we look at the bottom, it's about, I can't think of the percentage. I think it's like 20% higher at the bottom end. But the number one thing that we uncover is looking at the unneeded hours, where people are hiring 40-hour paralegals. They only need them for 10 hours. So what are they doing for those 30 hours that are promoting profitability in your firm? They're not. At that point, they're an expense. So from a business standpoint, if we can hire people that are not expenses, they're not in your expense category anymore. They're now in your return on investment category, because everything that contract paralegal is doing is billable to your client. It's a totally different ballgame on looking at your support team versus focusing just on that. I need a butt in the seat. This is the traditional way of running a business, is we have somebody in here 8 to 5. And so when we start taking employees and turning them into professional contractors and looking them at as an investment versus an expense, things change like crazy.
I agree. And I think I see that, this thing was happening before the pandemic, but during the pandemic, I believe that with the tools we have now, like Zoom and a lot of those other tools, we're seeing it is capable of having a valuable team member that's not in your office, because you don't necessarily need someone 8 solid hours a day. You need a job that needs to be completed. Can it be done cost effectively and professionally? I think that in the end is the point.
Absolutely. And that's where, we're marketing all this work in, we're really trying to build our firms, and and myself included, I'm a business owner. I know this pain point, in that making the decision to hire somebody is a really big one for your business, because of what you just said. It's don't need them there for 8 hours. And so to commit to something like that, plugging in the numbers, seeing how your profits drop because of that, it can be really intimidating. And I think we all know this. You look at an 8-hour workday, I think the average is 3 hours of those 8 are productive, are actually productive. And so going into contract space, and I can vouch for this because I've done the paralegal work on a contracted basis. I still actually do for one of my clients. I'll log in, 2 of my clients. I'll log in, I clock in, I type exactly what I worked on. And then when I'm done, I clock out. And that's only the only thing they're getting invoiced for. They're not getting invoiced for me sitting here trying to figure out what do I do next? Or, somebody walked through the door, or my colleague walked by my office and started a coffee chat. Not to mention, and this is another reason personally why I think that this model is so great for staffing, is when I was a paralegal and I was the senior paralegal office manager, our legal assistant, we found out when we were going to court, she was watching makeup tutorials on Facebook. So when people think they have control just because they're a W-2, that's wildly inaccurate, and assuming that you're always hiring super honest, loyal professionals, which we all know. They interview great, and then they kind of start to slowly show their true colors and their motivation and what they actually want in their careers as it goes on. But when you're pulling those contract paralegals, they've gone contract for a reason, and they show up in such a different way versus just, I need an 8 to 5, I need to pay the bills. They're business owners now, and they understand that it can take 2 seconds for a law firm to end a contract on a contracted basis, whereas the W-2, they have to think of a lot of things, lawsuits, discrimination, all of that stuff. So they understand that their jobs are a little more fragile, and they do open in a different way. That's saving you that time and saving you that unneeded hours. And to kind of circle back to the marketing efforts of it all, to me, it's pointless to drive in so much clientele, so much traffic. It's pointless to do that if you don't have a solid plan in place that makes financial sense, it's financially sound to actually sustain that work. Lawyers are going to burn out. Their firms are going to go like this on their profits. It's like, okay, 1 month in, we have 10 new leads. We got all the intakes. Great. Now I have nobody to support me. I'm telling my marketing agency to shut it off. Give me a minute to get caught up. And then they're contacting you again and saying, okay, turn it back on. And it just becomes this inconsistent message that you're putting out there in your community in front of your ideal target market. And I'm not a marketing expert by any means, but I've learned, and the number one rule is consistency. Consistency is so important in getting your message and what you are and your value proposition out there repeatedly, so that target client can see it 8 times over. So if you're constantly shutting it off just because you don't have anybody to support you, really you're your own worst enemy, because there are so many solutions out there for you to keep that marketing going at a consistent rate.
True. And like with any marketing, once your ads are working, if you turn those ads off, they're going to not just stop working, it's going to have to start learning again. And so I caution my clients, I would much rather cut the budget back and not turn them off. We're still collecting data. We're still in front of people, just not necessarily in front of as many people. Get your ducks in a row, get caught up, and let's keep going. Because what you do today in marketing is going to pay off 30, 60, 90 days down the road. So you don't want to lose that by, being overwhelmed. So having a piece of the puzzle like a senior paralegal that you can use when you need them to keep your head above water. We all want profitable firms. We all want happy attorneys, happy teams. And yeah, I absolutely agree.
Yep,
Yeah.
for sure. And that's exactly it. It creates a different culture for your firm. You kind of lose. And I'm a business owner. I'm saying this, I've never owned a law firm. I've worked in them. And I work with lawyers every single month and understand, where their struggle points are, where they're burning out. And the number one thing is just, I feel like they're working so hard and they're hiring the experts they need to, and they're doing all the right things, but it's still not working. And the reason I love Walt Disney's quote is, you can build the most beautiful, and I'm botching this, but you can build the most beautiful place on earth, but the only way it's going to be a thing is with the people. The people need to run it. And so and I think with the pandemic, one thing that we all lost is the remembrance of those people, because we all went remote. And some firms didn't. I'm not saying they all did, but we went remote, and then we started to think, oh, we're solopreneurs now, and we don't have a team backing us because we're not in the office touching base every single day. But really, with that right culture and that right vision and what you're looking for, and keeping those hiring processes consistent, whether you're hiring a professional contractor or you're hiring a W-2, keeping that all consistent to make sure you're lining up with the person that can vision your dream and what you're going for. That is the key to continuing to feel thriving and successful in your business. I just hired myself a staffing specialist on a contracted basis, because of course I'm a contractor for it. And she's helping me keep my vision alive, because we line up in that motivation and that drive. And I can hear her in interviews when she records them, just like bringing my vision for my company alive. And something more than she can do that more better than I can, because she can talk it up. She can keep that business running. And that's what contractors can do for you. So you can't lose that piece just because you're not quite ready for even a part-time or not quite ready for full-time. One thing I want to talk about is the understanding, and I'm not naive to this, that there is a place for W-2. 100%, there of course is a place for the W-2. I really strongly believe in a solid client services coordinator / secretary of sorts to be in your office that wants that for a career, that doesn't have any intentions of going to paralegal route or a lawyer route, that really wants to be that career client services coordinator, managing your leads. Maybe they jump into a tiny bit of marketing efforts with you, and then outsourcing the rest. Because I think that client services coordinator, the secretarial work, if you're still running an in-person office of any sort, some people have gone fully virtual, but if you are, I do believe in having that face-to-face with your clients. that person, they can come in and they see a friendly smile and they help me, and I don't have to wait for the lawyer to be available to see somebody. Those are great for having the W-2, and those will come down the road. But to actually sustain your growth, you need solid paralegals. And this is my position. You need solid paralegals that can draft from scratch, that solid, that they can take, a client case, they can research it, they can draft a motion that you don't have a template for. Those paralegals that can do pretty much everything a lawyer can do except for show up in court, set fees, and give legal advice, which will be unethical for us. So that's what I'm saying when we're going the contract route. It's not enough to just grab anybody off the street that says they've been a paralegal for 2 years and try to put them in that contract space. It's not going to be as lucrative, profitable, supporting as the senior paralegal.
So you vet all of the people before you bring them up to a firm, then you vet the firm, and then you try to personality match to make sure they'll work together. What happens if something comes up and you're like, I like her, it's just not working. For some reason, I don't feel like we're working out. What can you do for me?
So my company specifically, I've worked with agencies that charge recruiting fees up front. They charge re-recruiting fees, replacement fees, et cetera. I don't charge any of that. The only time my clients are getting billed is for the paralegal work on the clock. So from day one, working with me is absolutely free. And I've had a couple of business consultants tell me, why aren't you charging for your consulting? And the reason is because that's my mission in my firm, is to create this atmosphere of low risk, flexibility, support. So if I have a firm that comes to me and they say, it's just not working out, it's very rare. We usually get it right the first time. But if it does come up, or the paralegal's like 3 weeks later, oh, you know what, I got an offer I can't pass up. My old firm contacted me and they're offering me $60,000 with benefits, et cetera. I restaff them. We go through the whole process again and we find somebody that's going to really fit and stick. And so I think because of that, I really have lifelong clients. I think my retention rate on my clients is at 95%. I don't lose clients unless for some reason their profitability has gone way down and they completely need to just take a minute. They're not working with a marketer. This happens a lot in very small towns, small law firms in tiny little middle of nowhere towns. But even them, we work together, we can consistently, and I've had that conversation with my clients when I tell them all this. I said, I'd be contradictory to my mission and my values and what I believe my business can do for law firms if I made it complete 180 nightmare to try to keep them supported. So we make that very simple. We handle all that backlog of work. We handle the staffing, the sourcing, the interviewing. I even handle the paying the contractors. So you just get my invoice business to business and I keep them running. I have clients that take sometimes a month to pay. I keep their paralegals going. And that's really the value of, or the value of hiring an agency such as myself, because law firms can go and find contractors on their own. They absolutely can. But I've taken it one step further to specialize in that component of finding the right ones the first time versus, and we're in law firms, we're held to the highest level of confidentiality standards. And so we really want to make sure the person we're finding is a good one.
Absolutely. And I like the idea there, senior staff, you're not getting a new graduate, you've got someone with experience. So that sounds like a fantastic service to offer firms. So
absolutely. And we also do, I had done it before, but I just reintroduced the legal virtual assistant to my business as well. So law firms can also hire less experience, but just to handle those admin tasks, faxing, managing emails, calendars, maybe a tiny bit of template drafting. That's very, very basic. Those things that you don't want to pay the cost of a paralegal, a senior level paralegal, but you still need some support in to make that financially sound as well. Understanding that they can go find a graduate or somebody with 1 year of experience at a lot lower rate than a senior level paralegal. So I filled that gap as well. And then also do staffing if at some point I work with my clients. Quarterly, we check in, where are we headed? What is your visions? What are your goals? And they say, I think we're getting ready to hire full-time and also supplement with our contractor. So we'll work together on getting that W-2 in. And it's really just creating this one size doesn't fit all staffing structure for each individual firm.
Okay, excellent. Wow, that's a lot of information. It sounds like a great service. Do you offer like a free consultation with the attorneys if someone's interested in talking with you about it?
Absolutely. All my discovery calls are free. I don't charge any, like I said, I don't charge anything until that paralegal gets on the clock.
Okay. All right, great. Then what I'd like to do is in the description above this video, we're going to have your contact information so people could reach out to you.
Excellent.
Yeah, this has been eye-opening. This has been great to learn about this service. It sounds like so much that you can help small firms just get over that step to being a little
Right.
bit larger. Exactly.
Right. Absolutely.
Well, thank you. Is there anything, any final words you'd like to say today?
No, I just thank you so much, Marilyn, for having me. I'm very excited to see what you do with your group, and best of luck to you. And thank you so much.
Thank you, everybody, for being here. If anybody wants to learn more, I'm going to put the information above this video so you'll be able to reach out to her and contact her. See if she can help you with your firm grow and just fill some gaps to free you up to take more cases and make more money. So thank you so much, and I look forward to seeing you guys on the next video, and have an amazing day. Again, thank you, Caitlin.
Thank you.